17 Black beauty queens who made pageant history and shocked the world. What if the beauty queens we celebrate today owe their place on the world stage to women who once dared to break barriers no black contestant had crossed before? From the first black winners of Miss Universe, Miss World, and Miss USA to queens who proudly challenged traditional standards with natural hair and unmistakable confidence, these 17 remarkable women changed pageant history forever. Some victories sparked controversy, while others created moments millions never thought they would witness. But which queen made the greatest impact and which story has been unfairly forgotten? Stay with us, because several of these journeys are truly surprising. Before we begin, subscribe to Golden Black Legends and comment below who is your favorite black beauty queen of all time. Zozibini Tunji. When Zozibini Tunji walked onto the Miss Universe stage in 2019, she was not simply competing for another beauty crown. She was challenging an image of beauty that had dominated international pageants for generations. Born in South Africa's Eastern Cape in 1993, Tunji arrived with dark skin, short natural hair, and a determination not to reshape herself to fit traditional expectations. That decision became central to her historic story. Only months after winning Miss South Africa 2019, Tunji represented her country at the 68th Miss Universe competition held on December 8, 2019 at Tyler Perry Studios in Atlanta. Competing against women from around the world, she steadily advanced until reaching the final three, alongside Madison Anderson of Puerto Rico and Sofia Aragon of Mexico. Her defining moment came when she spoke about leadership. Tunji argued that young girls should be taught to take up space in society and become leaders, words that resonated far beyond the pageant audience. She also addressed growing up in a world where women with her complexion and hair texture were rarely presented as the standard of beauty. Then South Africa was announced. 8/26 Tunji became Miss Universe 2019, the third South African to capture the crown and the first black South African woman to do so. Her victory was also part of an unprecedented period when black women simultaneously held several of the world's most prominent pageant titles. The COVID-19 pandemic later delayed the next Miss Universe competition, extending Tunji's reign to approximately 525 days, the longest completed reign in the competition's history at that time. But the enduring image was simpler. A black woman standing beneath the Miss Universe crown without hiding her natural hair or changing the features that made her distinctive. For countless viewers, Zozibini Tunji did more than win. She expanded what a global beauty queen could look like. Vanessa Williams. Vanessa Williams was only 20 when one historic night changed American pageantry forever. Representing New York, she competed in Atlantic City on September 17, 1983 and was crowned Miss America 1984, becoming the first black woman to win the title in the pageant's more than six-decade history. For black viewers who had rarely seen themselves represented at the center of traditional American beauty competitions, the image was groundbreaking. But less than a year later, her triumph turned into a national controversy. Penthouse obtained nude photographs Williams had posed for before entering Miss America. Williams maintained that she had never intended or authorized the images for publication. With enormous media pressure surrounding the scandal, pageant officials pushed her toward surrendering her crown. On July 23, 1984, Williams announced her resignation. First runner-up Suzette Charles, another black woman, assumed the title for the remaining weeks. At just 21, Williams faced public humiliation that could easily have destroyed her future. Instead, she created one of entertainment's great comeback stories. Williams became a successful recording artist, earning multiple Grammy nominations and scoring major hits, including Save the Best for Last, which topped the Billboard Hot 100 in 1992. She subsequently established herself across television, film, and Broadway, proving her career would become far larger than the controversy surrounding one crown. Then came an extraordinary moment of closure. In 2015, Williams returned to Miss America as head judge. During the broadcast, Pageant executive Sam Haskell publicly apologized to Williams and her mother for the events surrounding her resignation, more than 3 decades after being pressured to walk away. Vanessa Williams returned not as a disgraced former queen, but as an accomplished star. Her greatest victory may not have been winning Miss America. It was refusing to let losing the crown define her life. Mpule Kwelagobe. Mpule Kwelagobe arrived at Miss Universe 1999 carrying something no contestant from her country had ever carried before, a Botswana sash. At only 19, she was representing Botswana in its first ever appearance at Miss Universe. Almost unbelievably, the country would finish its debut not merely with a finalist, but with the crown. Kwelagobe was not entirely new to international competition. She had represented Botswana at Miss World 1997 but did not place. 2 years later, she entered Miss Universe with another opportunity to prove herself. On May 26, 1999, in Chagaramas, Trinidad and Tobago, she advanced through the field and ultimately reached the final 3 with Miriam Quiambao of the Philippines and Diana Nogueira of Spain. Then came the announcement nobody in Botswana had experienced before. Kwelagobe was crowned Miss Universe 1999, becoming Botswana's first Miss Universe and the first Black African woman to win the competition. The achievement was extraordinary. Botswana had entered Miss Universe for the first time and immediately produced its winner. Yet Kwelagobe understood that visibility could serve purposes beyond pageantry. During and after her reign, she became an outspoken advocate for HIV/AIDS awareness at a time when Botswana was confronting an exceptionally serious epidemic. In 2000, the United Nations Population Fund appointed her a Goodwill Ambassador, strengthening her international advocacy work focused particularly on young people and HIV prevention. Her legacy therefore reaches beyond evening gowns and photographs. Mpule Kwelagobe walked onto a stage where her country had no previous history and left having rewritten Miss Universe history for both Botswana and Black Africa. Sometimes pageant history changes gradually. In 1999, it changed in a single night. Kenya Moore. Long before reality television made Kenya Moore familiar to millions of viewers, she had already broken an important barrier in American pageantry. In 1993, the 22-year-old Wayne State University student and model arrived at Miss USA representing Michigan and left with a place in history. Moore had begun modeling as a teenager, but winning Miss Michigan USA 1993 gave her access to a much larger national stage. On February 19, 1993 in Wichita, Kansas, she competed for the Miss USA crown. When her name was announced as the winner, Moore became only the second Black woman to win Miss USA following Carol Gist's historic victory in 1990. Today, seeing Black women succeed in major pageants may not appear revolutionary, but in the early 1990s, Moore's victory arrived only a decade after Vanessa Williams had become the first Black Miss America. Representation at the highest levels remained limited, making Moore's appearance beneath the Miss USA crown particularly significant. Her journey continued internationally. Moore represented the United States at Miss Universe 1993 in Mexico City, where she advanced into the top 6. She did not capture the international crown, but her national victory had already secured her place in pageant history. More importantly, Miss USA became a beginning rather than the peak of her public career. Moore moved into acting, producing, entrepreneurship, and television. Decades later, she became especially recognizable through The Real Housewives of Atlanta, introducing her to an audience that might never have watched her pageant triumph. Yet before the reality show arguments, businesses and television fame, there was a young Black woman from Detroit standing beneath the Miss USA crown. Kenya Moore had made history before many viewers even knew her name. Agbani Darego. Agbani Darego was just 18 when she created one of the defining moments in African pageant history. Born in Nigeria, Darego entered the international spotlight in 2001 after winning Most Beautiful Girl in Nigeria, earning the opportunity to represent her country on the global stage. What followed exceeded almost every expectation. On November 16, 2001, at Sun City in South Africa, Darigo competed against 93 other contestants for the Miss World title. When Nigeria was announced as the winner, the teenager became the first Nigerian to win Miss World and, crucially, the first native black African woman to capture the crown. The distinction mattered. Africa had produced previous Miss World winners, but Darigo's victory carried a different symbolic significance for millions of black Africans who had rarely seen women with their features and complexion presented as the international ideal of beauty. Nigeria's reaction was enormous. Darigo returned home not simply as another successful contestant, but as a national celebrity whose victory had placed the country at the center of global pageantry. The crown also opened doors far beyond competitions. Darigo entered international fashion, working as a model and building connections with major designers and beauty brands. Her success demonstrated that an African pageant winner could translate a historic coronation into a broader fashion career rather than disappearing when her reign ended. More than 2 decades later, the significance of that 2001 moment has not disappeared. Other African women have since reached extraordinary heights in international pageantry, but Darigo's breakthrough remains uniquely hers. She walked onto the Miss World stage as an 18-year-old representing Nigeria. She walked away having altered what millions of viewers believed an international beauty queen could look like. Cheslie Kryst. Cheslie Kryst was never a conventional beauty queen. By the time she entered the Miss USA spotlight, she had already built an impressive professional life as an attorney, earning both a law degree and an MBA from Wake Forest University. Then on May 2, 2019, the 28-year-old representing North Carolina added another achievement, Miss USA 2019. At the time, she became the oldest woman ever to win the title. Kryst's significance extended far beyond appearance. As a civil litigation attorney licensed in North and South Carolina, she also performed pro bono legal work for prisoners, serving lengthy sentences for low-level drug offenses. Her pageant platform therefore reflected a career already centered on advocacy. Her victory soon became part of something unprecedented. Nia Franklin held Miss America while Khalik Garris was Miss Teen USA. Later that year, South Africa's Zozibini Tunzi captured Miss Universe. For the first time, black women simultaneously held 4 of America's and the world's most visible pageant crowns. Kryst herself represented the United States at Miss Universe 2019 and reached the top 10. After relinquishing her crown, she successfully entered entertainment journalism as a correspondent for Extra, contributing to the program's daytime Emmy-winning work. Then came heartbreaking news. On January 30, 2022, Kryst died at only 30 years old. Her death stunned the pageant and television communities. Yet reducing Cheslie Kryst's story to its tragic ending misses what made her extraordinary. She challenged the assumption that beauty, intellectual achievement, professional ambition, and advocacy belonged in separate worlds. In 2019, she stood among a historic generation of black queens and helped create an image pageant history had never witnessed before. Janelle Commission. When Janelle Commission entered Miss Universe 1977, representing Trinidad and Tobago, no black woman had ever won the competition. Miss Universe had existed since 1952, but its first quarter-century reflected beauty standards that rarely placed black women at the very top. Then Commission changed that history in a single night. 8/24. She competed in Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic against contestants from around the world. Commission made an impression before the final announcement, also receiving the Miss Photogenic award. But the defining moment came when she was crowned Miss Universe 1977, becoming the first black woman in the pageant's history to hold the title. The importance went far beyond Trinidad and Tobago. For black girls watching internationally, Commission offered something pageants had rarely provided: visible proof that a woman who looked like them could be publicly celebrated as a global beauty standard. She also used her reign for subjects more substantial than fashion. During her travels, Commission spoke about racial equality, black rights, and world peace. Back home, she became a national figure and later received the Trinity Cross, then Trinidad and Tobago's highest national honor. Her image was also featured on the country's postage stamps. Decades later, her achievement remained important enough for another public tribute. In 2017, marking 40 years since her victory, a street in Port of Spain was renamed in her honor. Other black women would eventually follow her onto the Miss Universe throne. But none could repeat Commission's particular achievement. Someone had to be first, and in 1977, Janelle Commission opened a door that international pageantry had kept closed for 25 years. Toni Ann Singh. Toni Ann Singh arrived at Miss World 2019 carrying Jamaica's sash, but by the end of the competition, her victory would become part of something much larger than one country winning another crown. Born in Morant Bay, St. Thomas, Jamaica, Singh later studied women's studies and psychology at Florida State University. Only months after becoming Miss Jamaica World 2019, the 23-year-old traveled to London to compete against more than 100 women for the international title. Singh quickly demonstrated that her strengths extended beyond traditional pageant presentation. She won the talent competition and showcased her powerful singing voice with Whitney Houston's "I Have Nothing." During the final questioning, however, she delivered one of her most personal moments by discussing the profound influence of her mother. On December 14, 2018, Singh was crowned Miss World 2019. She became Jamaica's fourth winner, following Carol Joan Crawford, Cindy Breakspear and Lisa Hanna. But the timing transformed her victory into pageant history. With Singh holding Miss World, Zozibini Tunzi holding Miss Universe, Chesley Christ holding Miss USA Kaliek, Garris holding Miss Teen USA, and Nia Franklin associated with that historic cycle as Miss America 2019, black women occupied the major crowns in an unprecedented moment. Singh made clear that she wanted the platform to mean more than photographs and ceremonial appearances, speaking about creating lasting change for women and children. For Jamaica, it was another world crown. For black pageant history, Toni Ann Singh's victory completed a remarkable picture, one that would have seemed almost unimaginable during generations when black contestants struggled simply to be recognized on those same stages. Carol Gist. Before Carol Gist made Miss USA history, her journey looked nothing like the polished fairy tale usually associated with beauty queens. The Detroit native later described experiencing serious instability during her youth, including periods when she slept in her car or stayed with friends while still attending school. Yet she kept moving forward. Gist maintained her education, earned a college scholarship, and eventually entered pageantry. Then on March 2, 1990, everything changed. Representing Michigan at the Miss USA competition in Wichita, Kansas, the 20-year-old was crowned Miss USA 1990. The achievement was historic on two levels. Gist became the first black woman ever to win Miss USA and the first contestant representing Michigan to capture the national crown. For a competition established in 1952, the racial breakthrough had taken nearly 4 decades, and Gist nearly made history again almost immediately. Only weeks later, she represented the United States at Miss Universe 1990 in Los Angeles. Gist advanced through the competition until only 2 women remained. She ultimately finished first runner-up behind Norway's Mona Groth, coming remarkably close to adding the Miss Universe crown to her Miss USA victory. Her breakthrough arrived 7 years after Vanessa Williams became the first black Miss America, providing another visible sign that American pageantry's racial barriers were beginning to fall. For younger black contestants watching in 1990, the symbolism was difficult to miss. A young woman from Detroit who had experienced instability away from the stage was suddenly standing at the center of American pageantry. Carol Gist's crown therefore represented far more than one competition. She entered a space where no black woman had ever won and permanently changed who could imagine standing there next. Layla Lopez. When Leila Lopes stepped onto the Miss Universe stage in 2011, Angola had never produced a winner. By the end of that September night in Sao Paulo, Brazil, an entire country had a new reason to celebrate. Born in Benguela, Angola, Lopes entered international competition after winning Miss Angola 2010. At 25, she traveled to Brazil for Miss Universe 2011, facing 88 other contestants. She steadily advanced through the competition before reaching the final 5 alongside representatives from Ukraine, Brazil, the Philippines and China. Her final answer became an important part of her victory. Asked what physical characteristic she would change about herself, Lopes refused to identify one. Instead, she expressed satisfaction with how she had been created and emphasized the principles and inner beauty her family had given her. Then Angola was announced. On September 12, 2011, Lopes became Miss Universe 2011, the first Angolan woman ever to capture the crown. She was also the first African winner since Botswana's Mpule Kwelagobe in 1999. Her victory carried additional significance because international beauty standards had historically offered limited visibility to dark-skinned African women. Lopes later spoke against racism, arguing that such thinking had no place in the 21st century. She also used her visibility to support humanitarian causes, including initiatives involving disadvantaged children, older people, and HIV awareness. For Angola, however, one image remains unforgettable: Leila Lopes standing under the lights in Sao Paulo as the Miss Universe crown was placed on her head. That night, she did not simply win a competition. She gave Angola its first Miss Universe and placed another Black African woman at the center of global pageant history. Kali H. Garris. Kali H. Garris was only 18 when she created an image that resonated far beyond the Miss Teen USA stage. Representing Connecticut in 2019, she entered a pageant world where straightened hair extensions and carefully controlled styling had long influenced conventional ideas of presentation. Garris chose another path. She competed wearing her naturally curly hair. That choice was deliberate. Garris had heard suggestions that she should straighten her hair, but she believed her natural curls reflected who she was and made her feel more confident. On April 28, 2019, at the Grand Sierra Resort in Reno, Nevada, she advanced through the competition until reaching the decisive moments alongside North Dakota's Caitlin Vogel. When Connecticut was announced, Garris covered her face in disbelief before celebrating. She had become Miss Teen USA 2019, only the second representative from Connecticut to win the title. The crown rested directly above the curls she had prepared herself the previous night. For many young Black viewers, that visual mattered. Afro-textured hair has historically faced pressure to conform to Eurocentric standards, so seeing natural curls celebrated on a major American pageant stage carried meaning beyond fashion. Garris also brought a social mission. Inspired by her older sister, who lives with multiple disabilities, she founded We Are People First, an initiative encouraging respectful language toward people with disabilities. Her victory soon became part of an unprecedented year. Chesley Christ won Miss USA while Nia Franklin held Miss America, and later Zozibini Tunzi captured Miss Universe. But Garris' individual message remained unmistakable. She reached the top without changing the natural feature that made her feel most authentically herself. Wendy Fitzwilliam. When Wendy Fitzwilliam represented Trinidad and Tobago at Miss Universe 1998, she carried the expectations of a Caribbean nation that already knew what a historic crown could mean. 21 years earlier, Janelle Commission had become the first Black woman ever to win Miss Universe. Now, Fitzwilliam had an opportunity to create another unforgettable chapter. Born in Diego, Martin, Trinidad and Tobago, Fitzwilliam combined pageantry with serious academic ambition. She studied law and developed modeling experience before earning the national title that sent her to the international competition. On May 12, 1998, in Honolulu, Hawaii, Fitzwilliam competed against 80 other contestants. She survived each elimination until reaching the final 3. alongside Verusca Ramirez of Venezuela and Joyce Giraud of Puerto Rico. Then came the announcement Trinidad and Tobago had waited more than 2 decades to hear again. Fitzwilliam was crowned Miss Universe 1998, becoming the second woman from her country to win the competition after Commission. But her reign developed beyond glamorous appearances. Fitzwilliam became involved in HIV/AIDS awareness and later worked with the United Nations Population Fund as a goodwill ambassador, addressing reproductive health and issues affecting Caribbean youth. Then her reign received a fitting conclusion. Miss Universe 1999 was staged in Trinidad and Tobago, allowing Fitzwilliam the rare experience of surrendering her crown on home soil. Even more remarkably, the woman she crowned was Mpule Kwelagobe of Botswana, whose victory made her the first Black African woman to win Miss Universe. Fitzwilliam therefore stood at the center of 2 historic images, first receiving the crown herself, then placing it on another Black woman who was about to make history for Africa. Deshauna Barber. Deshauna Barber arrived at Miss USA 2016, carrying credentials rarely associated with a national beauty queen. At 26, she was an IT analyst and U.S. Army Reserve officer accustomed to military discipline rather than simply gowns, cameras, and pageant rehearsals. Barber's relationship with the military began early. She joined the Army Reserve at 17 and was later commissioned as a quartermaster officer in 2011. Military service was deeply rooted in her family as well. Her father was a retired Army Master Sergeant. Representing the District of Columbia, Barber competed at Miss USA on June 5, 2016 in Las Vegas. During the final interview, she received a question particularly suited to her background, what she thought about the Pentagon opening combat positions to women. Barber answered from experience, emphasizing that women were just as capable as men of toughness, leadership, and dedication. Then came the crown. Barber became Miss USA 2016, making history as the first woman actively serving in the US military to win the title. She subsequently used the attention to discuss issues connected to military life, particularly PTSD treatment and suicide prevention among service members and veterans. She wanted her reign to demonstrate that a pageant platform could address subjects extending far beyond beauty. Barber later represented the United States at Miss Universe 2016 in Manila, advancing into the top 9. Her victory challenged an old stereotype from 2 directions at once. She showed that military strength and femininity were never opposites, and that a Black woman trained to command and serve could also stand beneath one of America's most famous crowns. Chelsea Smith. In 95, Chelsea Smith accomplished something no Texas woman had ever done before and created one of the most impressive single-year runs in American pageant history. Born in California in 1973 and raised in Texas, Smith was the daughter of a Black father and a white mother. She openly embraced her biracial identity at a time when conversations about race and conventional beauty standards remained complicated within American pageantry. Her rise accelerated when she became the first African-American woman to win Miss Texas USA. From there, Smith advanced to Miss USA 1995 and captured the national crown, becoming the 3rd Black woman to hold the title, but she was not finished. On May 12, 1995, Smith represented the United States at Miss Universe in Windhoek, Namibia. She defeated an international field and was crowned Miss Universe 1995, becoming the first American to win the competition since Sean Weatherly in 1980. She also became the first and remains the only Texan to capture both Miss USA and Miss Universe. After relinquishing the crown, Smith pursued modeling, acting, television, and music rather than remaining solely identified with pageantry. Her story, however, received a heartbreaking ending. Smith died from liver cancer on September 8, 2018, at only 45 years old. Her influence has continued after her death. In 2025, the Miss USA organization renamed its Miss Congeniality recognition the Chelsea Smith Congeniality Award, preserving her name within the competition she once won. Chelsea Smith's 1995 journey remains extraordinary. Texas champion, Miss USA and Miss Universe, all while helping broaden the image of who could represent American beauty on the world stage. Nia Franklin. Nia Franklin entered the pageant world with an identity built around music rather than traditional beauty competitions. Born in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, she became a classically trained singer and composer, earning a bachelor's degree in music composition from East Carolina University and a master's degree from the University of North Carolina School of the Arts. After moving to New York through a fellowship connected with Lincoln Center Education, she eventually entered pageantry and captured Miss New York 2018. Her arrival at Miss America came during a dramatic transformation. On September 9, 2018, Franklin competed for the Miss America 2019 crown in Atlantic City. For the first time since the competition began in 1921, organizers had eliminated the swimsuit portion, placing greater emphasis on talent, interviews, accomplishments, and social impact initiatives. Franklin flourished under that format. During the talent competition, she showcased her classical training by performing Quando Mon Vo from Puccini's La Bohème. When the final announcement came, Franklin was crowned Miss America 2019, placing a black composer and classically trained vocalist at the center of one of America's oldest pageant institutions. Her victory soon became part of something even bigger. During 2019, Chesley Christ held Miss USA, Khalik Garris held Miss Teen USA, and Zozibini Tunzi won Miss Universe, creating an unprecedented period when black women simultaneously occupied 4 major pageant crowns. Franklin used her visibility to champion arts, education, and encourage young people to experience music. Her historic reign represented more than another crown. It arrived precisely when Miss America was redefining what achievement should look like, while black women were gaining visibility across pageant stages in ways earlier generations could scarcely have imagined. Jennifer Hoston. Jennifer Hoston was just 23 when she arrived at London's Royal Albert Hall, representing the small Caribbean nation of Grenada at Miss World 1970. She had already worked in broadcasting and as a flight attendant, but nothing could have prepared her for November 20, 1970, a night filled with political tension, protest controversy, and ultimately one of the greatest racial breakthroughs in pageant history. The competition itself was unusually turbulent. Apartheid era South Africa controversially sent 2 contestants, one black and one white. Meanwhile, women's liberation protesters disrupted the televised event, heckling host Bob Hope and throwing flower bombs and other objects toward the stage. Against this chaotic backdrop, Hoston calmly advanced through a field of 58 contestants. Then came the historic announcement. Hoston was crowned Miss World 1970, becoming both the first black woman ever to win Miss World and the first representative of Grenada to capture the title. Black South African contestant Pearl Jansen finished first runner-up, making the result particularly significant during an era dominated by racial inequality. But controversy followed immediately. Grenada's Prime Minister Eric Gairy had served on the judging panel, leading critics to question whether Hoston had received favorable treatment. Organizers later displayed the judges' scorecards to defend the outcome. Hoston refused to allow those accusations to diminish what her victory represented. Her achievements continued long after pageantry. Hoston studied political science and international relations before entering diplomatic service and eventually serving as Grenada's High Commissioner to Canada. More than half a century later, her coronation remains extraordinary. Amid protests and controversy, a young black woman from Grenada broke a barrier that Miss World had never crossed before. Crystal Stewart. Crystal Stewart's journey toward the Miss USA crown was not a story of immediate triumph. The Texas model, athlete, and entrepreneur, repeatedly entered Miss Texas, USA, experiencing disappointment after disappointment. She reached semifinals and runner-up positions but kept returning. Finally, on her fifth attempt, Stewart captured Miss Texas USA 2008, becoming only the second African-American woman to win the state title after Chelsea Smith. That persistence carried her to Las Vegas on April 11, 2008. Competing against representatives from across the country, Stewart won Miss USA 2008, becoming the ninth Texas woman to capture the national crown. Years of falling short had suddenly produced the opportunity she had refused to stop chasing. But one of her most memorable pageant moments came afterward. Representing the United States at Miss Universe 2008 in Nha Trang, Vietnam, Stewart advanced into the top 10. During the evening gown competition, she unexpectedly slipped and fell on stage before an international audience. The moment immediately attracted attention because another Miss USA, Rachel Smith, had fallen during the same portion of Miss Universe just 1 year earlier. Stewart's response transformed potential embarrassment into an unforgettable display of composure. She quickly stood up, smiled, and began clapping, encouraging the audience to applaud along with her. Rather than allowing one mistake to destroy her confidence, she continued competing and ultimately finished 8th. That recovery perfectly reflected her entire journey. Stewart had already learned through 5 attempts at Miss Texas USA that setbacks did not have to become endings. Her most memorable international moment therefore carried a message larger than pageantry. Falling can happen in front of everyone. The real test is how confidently you rise again. 17 queens, 17 unforgettable journeys, and together they transformed what beauty representation and success could look like on the world stage. From Janelle Commission and Jennifer Hostin breaking historic racial barriers to Sozibini Tunzi, proudly celebrating natural black beauty, these women proved that a crown could represent something far greater than appearance. Some faced controversy, others overcame rejection, and several achieved firsts that once seemed impossible. But now, the debate is yours. Which of these black beauty queens had the greatest impact on pageant history and who deserves more recognition today? Share your choice and reasons in the comments. If these stories brought back memories or taught you something new, subscribe to Golden Black Legends for more powerful stories celebrating black history and unforgettable icons.